Hello and welcome to the show. Today is March 14th, 2023. Let me start by saying that I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. This information is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. Today we'll be talking about why I picked up some GTII shares, and I really don't know too much about them, but here's what I do know. So anyway, let's get started. Before I talk about GTII and all that, I wanted to give a quick message and a warning that the financial system of the United States is corrupt. How do I know this? Because of the actions of FINRA. FINRA, the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, on March 8th did some bad things regarding the stock symbol MMTLP, and here's what they did. So in case you're not sure of what the stock symbol MMTLP and the private company NextBridge Hydrocarbons is, let me give you a quick recap. FINRA created a whole bunch of fraudulent counterfeit shares in stock symbol MMTLP and caused further problems in the private company NextBridge Hydrocarbons. So let me start. On December 8th, 2022, according to FINRA data itself, there were 13.7 million shares of stock symbol MMTLP traded, of which 9.5 million shares were short sales. Okay, here's the FINRA data itself. As you can see, the short volume was about 9.5 million shares. Total volume, 13.7 million shares. Okay, now a short sale is when shares are sold prior to being purchased. Most people will actually buy shares and then sell them at some point later on. Short sellers do the exact opposite. Short sellers sell shares that they don't own with the plan to buy them back at some later point in time. As a result, short sales have an effect of dilution, right? They will dilute shares until the shares are subsequently purchased because they've already been sold. Shares have been sold without yet being bought, okay? That's what short selling does. So, FINRA issued a U3 extraordinary event halt on December 9th, 2012, okay? And it's still in effect till now. Now, private company shares of NextBridge Hydrocarbons were supposed to be distributed to all MMTLP shareholders on December 14th, right? After which, stock symbol MMTLP was supposed to be deleted, and all short shares were supposed to be reconciled. Now, since you can't trade, since the shares were halted from the 9th to 12th, all the way up till now, right? And you can't trade those MMTLP shares, those short shares can never be reconciled, right? They haven't been bought back, and they've been sold, and they can never be bought back. So MMTLP shares that were sold but never purchased, I call those fraudulent counterfeit shares. Okay, and those shares exist thanks to FINRA. So FINRA created the fraudulent counterfeit shares by issuing the U3 halt and preventing the short sellers from ever buying those shares back, okay? So as a result, those shares are now fraudulent and counterfeit, and they were made that way by FINRA. Not only that, when you introduce fraudulent counterfeit shares into the market, you have now pushed down prices, right? Because those shares are fraudulent and counterfeit. So because FINRA created the fraudulent counterfeit shares, they are now a price manipulator. They've manipulated prices downward, okay? They knew what they were doing when they created the fraudulent counterfeit shares, and they went ahead and did it, right? So thank you, FINRA, for being a price manipulator. Next, FINRA also prevented every single MMTLP shareholder from receiving the one-to-one dividend of the private company NextBridge Hydrocarbons, okay? FINRA knew all about the spin-out of the private company, and that FINRA knew that there were 165 million shares that were initially issued prior to these fraudulent counterfeit shares entering the market, and Metamaterials distributed all those 165 million shares to the transfer agent AST, who provided those shares to the broker-dealers. However, the broker-dealers had a lot more than 165 million shares. That was the number of shares that were issued, thanks to FINRA creating fraudulent counterfeit shares. Broker-dealers cannot distribute shares to shareholders because that would mean that some shareholders would get shares while others would not. And they cannot pick and choose who gets shares because then they'd be held liable, right? So, thank you, FINRA. That's what FINRA did. They created fraudulent counterfeit shares, they manipulated prices, and they prevented the distribution of the private company NextBridge Hydrocarbons. Now, a lot of people might say, oh, gee, this is a complex situation. It's hard to deal with, whatever. That's what FINRA did. This is what they should have done. What FINRA should have done is they should have instructed broker-dealers of a corporate action that shorts must close their positions by December 12th, 2022, right? They should have informed broker-dealers that between December 9th to 12th, all trading in MMTLP should be position close only. What that means is that longs, those are people who purchase shares, should be able to sell those shares to shorts. And shorts, the people who already sold shares that they didn't own, they should be able to buy those shares back to reconcile their positions, right? And if they didn't buy it back by December 12th, 2022, they should be a forced close at that point, right? And that would reconcile all the shares which were already sold to buyers, right? But never purchased, right? So these shares became fraudulent counterfeit shares, and they would never have become fraudulent counterfeit shares if FINRA performed these two corporate actions. FINRA knew about going to position close only. It's very standard. They knew about forcing shorts to close their positions, and they did not do it. The stock symbol MMTLP was on the OTC threshold list for 40 plus days before FINRA halted it, right, on that fateful day in December. What does this mean, being on the OTC threshold list for 40 plus days? This means that there were greater than 10,000 failures to deliver every single day for 40 plus days. Now, not every naked short results in a failure to deliver. About 1% of them do, though. And so what that means is that if only 1% of naked shorts result in a failure to deliver, that means that there were probably about 1 million naked shorts at minimum every day for 41 days. Now, FINRA stated that its goal is to protect retail investors. Instead, they protected their buddies, and this just shows you how corrupt the system is. It shows you how corrupt the U.S. financial markets are, because FINRA, who is supposed to be protecting retail, is instead abusing retail to the benefit of their buddies, of their hedge fund buddies. Now, FINRA happens to report to the SEC, and the SEC hasn't really done anything yet. The SEC reports to Congress, and apparently we're still waiting on Congress to direct the SEC to do something. But there is word that that there has been movement, and that Congress is very interested in what's going on with MMTLP and FINRA specifically, and the SEC, and the current rumor is that there are multiple agencies looking at this, trying to resolve this issue, because it shows just how corrupt the U.S. financial markets are. I will continue talking about how corrupt the U.S. financial markets are for every single video I make until Congress and the SEC resolve this issue. Now, on to what this current topic is about, which is GTII. On my last live stream, I was asked about GTII, and I mentioned that yes, I did pick up a few shares, but I don't really know too much about it. So this video is to let you know what I do know. I don't claim to be an expert, and again, not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. This information is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. One last thing about stock symbol MMTLP. I saw this tweet by John Berta. So I wanted to pass it along. There's a letittrade.com, right, which has a video about stock symbol MMTLP, this is by MMTLP Studios. Please check out the website and check out the video. It's a really good video. I'm giving them a quick shout out. Please go to let-it-trade.com and check it out. It's really, really cool. Now on to what we're supposed to talk about, which is GTII. This is how I found out about GTII. I saw this tweet by HamShortKiller. Basically, he said that there's a short position of about 300 million shares, and Alpine was actually noted to have a concentrated short position per the NSCC, and they were actually fined $2.1 million on a backtesting charge because they had a net short portfolio with the top driver being a concentrated short position in GTII, and that was deemed to be dangerous for them. 300 million shares short position by Alpine, okay? Alpine Securities. So let's look at GTII. How many shares are there? Well, if we look at the shares outstanding, there's only 259 million shares. There are more shares sold in Alpine's alone short position than shares outstanding. Give me a freaking break. So I know that there are more shares that have been shorted now per the NSCC, and then shares have been issued, right? Let's look at this statement, right? So we know that to be a fact. Next, this is the actual statement that you can look up on the SEC regarding Alpine Securities in the matter of the application of Alpine Securities Corporation for review of action taken by the NSCC. Order denying motion for stay. Alpine wanted to not have to pay, or at least hold off paying, because they had an issue. So anyway, but here's what we see. Alpine has a net short portfolio, with the top driver being a concentrated position in MMTLP. Here we see that they are being charged $2.154 million as a backtesting charge because of their concentrated short position. They should not have that, right? Furthermore, if we keep reading, Alpine says, "Hey, look, please we cannot pay this fee because Alpine lacks the necessary capital to pay. We do not have enough." Alpine is saying we do not have enough money to pay this fee. And later on, Alpine's lawyers say, "Look, if Alpine is unable to pay the charges, the firm will no longer be able to process trades for its customers through NSCC." It's like, Alpine is in pretty bad shape right now, right? So they have liquidity issues. They have a problem paying a fine of $2.5 million. It's not a lot of money for a broker, right? Not a lot of money for a broker. Let's go on. We also see that there's this order extending the time to issue the actual decision. This, again, comes from the SEC. Links will be provided, of course. So Alpine has received an extension to March 29th of 2023. So the end of this month, they've received an extension in which they have to pay the $2.1 million. They also have to, of course, clear out their concentrated short position in stock symbol GTII. Okay, so that's the basics of what I knew, and that's the reasons why I decided to get into GTII. I said, hey, look, I know that at least there's more shares that have been sold than exist. Okay, there have been Alpine, which is a prime broker, has been issued a fine of $2.1 million, and they don't have enough money to pay the fine. Okay, and they've got an extension till March 29th. So that was reason enough for me in order to pick up some shares, because I didn't need to know anymore. Again, I'm not an expert in GTII. Then I saw this press release come out from GTII. GTII plans to offer restricted share dividends to its shareholders. It's like, that's pretty cool. This came out March 10th. This is pretty recent, right? So they're about to issue a dividend, and they're going to issue a dividend of 1 restricted share for every 10 shares owned. They didn't say when, and they didn't say when the shares will be issued, and they didn't say what the ex-dividend date is and all that stuff. So again, they're going to issue a special dividend, and it's not, it's a restricted share. It's not money. It's not anything else. It's a restricted share. So there's a limited number of restricted shares, and they will be going out. Okay. Then today, March 13th, 2023, we see this come out. This is really pretty cool news. GTII, okay, is filing a lawsuit against Alpine Securities in connection with trading activities in the company's shares. So there's a lawsuit that's going on against Alpine Securities. And I believe this has been updated. It's against other companies as well too, but right now it's a lawsuit against Canaccord as well. Credit Suisse has been named. Instinet has been named. Lime Trading has been named, as well as GTS. Who is GTS? Well, as you recall, I happen to have talked about MMTLP, or stock symbol MMTLP. It turned out GTS is potentially a short seller of stock symbol MMTLP. They're a potential market maker who may have naked short sold a ton of stock symbol MMTLP. So this makes me kind of happy to be owning GTII shares because we're putting pressure on the same people who have harmed stock symbol MMTLP. Anyway, this lawsuit is for spoofing of GTII shares. Spoofing is an illegal market manipulation technique. The lawsuit is also, it's been brought about by Wes Christensen. By Wes Christian of the Christian Levine Law Group. These are the same people who are representing Flamethrower in their investigation of what's going on with stock symbol MMTLP. Pretty cool. But just the fact that they filed this lawsuit, this means that you've got discovery now. Discovery is going forward against all defendants. What does discovery mean? Discovery means that all of these defendants need to actually provide information as to what they were doing with GTII. That's Canaccord, Credit Suisse, Instinet, Lime Trading, and GTS. Okay, that's a pretty good reason for me to continue to hold. In fact, I wound up adding to my position today. But again, not financial advice, not a financial advisor. I don't know what the frick I'm doing. As far as I know, I'm just gathering information. All the information that I see points me towards being correct. Now, what are the possible price targets that I see for this? Okay. Again, I just looked out in the internet, right? And I said, hey, Yahoo Finance, tell me what the 52-week trading range for GTII is. I don't know what GTII has done, but this is today's, this is from yesterday, GTII's summary sheet. And if we look at it, the 52-week trading range has been anywhere from 43 cents to $8.97. So currently it's trading around $2 or so. So $2, if it gets back to its 52-week trading range, it's about $9. So that's about, 4.5 to 1 gain. It's not too bad, not too shabby. It basically means that, hey, look, if it gets back to its 52-week trading range, I'll be up almost 5x. Well, it's not too bad. Can't go wrong with that. Then I scrolled down a little bit more on Yahoo, and I looked at the analyst price targets. Where do the analysts think that that GTII can go to? And I said, what the frick? The analyst price targets are anywhere from $16 to $44. With an average being $25. That's a lot better than the 52-week range of $9. So again, like I said, I don't know much about what I'm doing here. And I just saw this and I said, oh, that looks like a pretty high upside there. Not too much downside. Looks pretty decent. And so again, me not knowing what I'm doing, just looking around, hunting around, trying to gather information, right? And I saw this short by Ace in the Hole, and it's a pretty cool short. Let me just play it for you. I recommend you check out Ace in the Hole anyway. But
versus 5.8 versus overstock and 0.14 here. Here's the float, 36, 42, and short percentage. Overstock on 14%. We'll focus on overstock, okay? Went from 3, all right, up to 120. All right. GTII, if it does the same as overstock, we could be looking at $54. But if it's at 830%, which is what is estimated right now based on the 300 million short shares, we're going to 3,200. Now, that is an estimation. Obviously, a lot of things can happen till then, especially if people sell fast. But that is what is mathematically possible if we get the same run as overstock. Now, I was able to do the math on this part. If our shares are short at 325, 350, this is actually closer to 900, the short percentage. At 900, I think that's at 325 is what I did. This is more looking like 3,800, 3,700. So that is what is possible.
That is what is possible. So if it goes like overstock, then we're talking about $54. And if we factor in the fact that there's 300 million short shares, that's $3,000. That's a hell of a lot more than $2. Okay. And I kept hunting around, right? Saw this video by William P Farrand. Let's see if I can play this, hopefully.
What's the hill price? You think $10? What's the hill price? Oh, I don't know if it's going to be $10 that does it. I'm not sure what you're asking, but I think certainly by the time it gets to 13, 15, 21, I think then it's on its way. And to me, anything that gets the stock to 21, to be blunt, gets it to $2,000 or $3,000. Justice L, I feel hopeless for MMTLP. Well, you know what, Justice? I had clients that felt that way. I understand how you feel, and I had clients that felt that way. And you know what they found? Justice, all I can say to you is that's a feeling, nothing more than feelings. Feelings I wish I'd had in my life, or I forget the lyrics, but it's just a feeling, Justice. Your feelings, frankly, are irrelevant in the case, and I'm not being impolite, I hope, in the case of MMTLP. Your feelings aren't going to change it one way or the t'other. It is, the solution is going to happen, and your feelings aren't going to enter into it. Ham points out that you might have avoided buying GNS at $6. It's now at $3. Or buying, I don't know, CLNV while it was, I don't know. I don't want to pick on any, I can't think of companies. So Justice L, I don't feel hopeless for MMTLP. They have to fix it, as Ham said on the call. He said it differently than I say it, but it's basically comes down to, if they want to have a viable United States securities market, they have to pay you. They have to take care of you.
I thought that was very relevant. What William P Farrand said about stock symbol MMTLP. If they want a viable U.S. stock market, they need to resolve the issue with what FINRA did and MMTLP, because it's just, what they did was just wrong. It's just blatant corruption, and it needs to be resolved. Okay. And everyone understands it needs to be resolved, including, I believe, Congress now, and there are several agencies looking at it. But okay, that's besides the point. Again, getting back to the focus of this video, which is stock symbol GTII, there was this last video that was made by Ace in the Hole, which I thought, he made this over the weekend, and I thought it was very relevant. So here it is.
Any brackets? So I'm not going to do brackets, but I think it's 90 to 99%. We hit 100 to 300. I think 300 to 800 is like 80, 90%. And I think 1,000 plus is like 75% chance. So I'll say that. You're welcome. Thank you. I think GTII in a spike can run to like 3,000. So that's just the math based on what Overstock did and based on what our short. I think that's what could happen in a spike. As always, don't plan for a spike, but I think that's what it could run to. I think that this is me just stepping away from fundamentals, stepping away from logic, all that, just based on what I feel and what I've seen. I think that the 1,000 to 1,500 range is very likely. No, she knows.
So that was Ace in the Hole, and he said 1,000 to 1,500 is very likely. Again, I'm not an expert in any of this stuff, but these are the resources that I look towards. On Twitter, check out HamShortKiller. He seems to he's got a flamethrower image in there, so that's pretty cool. Anyway, he's been talking about GTII forever, and William P Farrand. Again, check out his video channel and Twitter. He's an expert on GTII. He talks about it almost every day. And there's Ace in the Hole, and I just like Ace in the Hole's videos. I think they're pretty cool. He's straightforward and straight shooter. So that's that. And again, so So again, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. This is, this is just me and what I did. I picked up a few more shares today because I felt, the new information came out. I felt that it was a good time for me to do, for me to take my own actions. Again, I'm in the same boat as a lot of people here. I have some MMTLP that is the majority of my holdings right now, which has been put into limbo thanks to FINRA and its U3 halt. So of course I will continue to make videos. Every single video I make will include something about stock symbol MMTLP and FINRA's blatant actions, which I think are very corrupt. Anyway, so that was my thoughts on GTII. Again, I didn't cover everything because I'm not an expert at it. This is what that information was enough for me to take action on my part, because I figured, worst possible case, hey, what, you got a 4x to 1, but chances are it could get to $100 easily. If it gets to $1,000, I'll be extremely happy. But again, not financial advice, not financial advisor. This is just me making my own decisions, right? You guys are free to do what you want. But anyway, this was why I picked up some shares. Again, I don't know much about this right now. I'm not an expert on it. Check out the resources that I linked to. Those guys are experts. So that's it. That's it for the video. Talk to you later, and goodbye.